a quote from the Quran where Allah, God, the creator of the universe, tells us that whoever kills a human as if you kill humanity, and whoever saves a life as if you save humanity. وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. Who saves it?
All right, good afternoon, folks. My name is Sulaiman Aden, Deputy Director of CARE Minnesota, and we are joined here today with community leaders across Minnesota to call for a ceasefire in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. The first that we have speaking with us here today is Executive Director Jaylani Hussein.
Jaylani Hussein, Jaylani Hussein, Executive Director of CARE Minnesota. Today, we are reaching out to our Minnesota beloved community and the rest of the nation in calling for a ceasefire. The conflict in Israel and Palestine has cost the lives of innocent Israelis and Palestinians. We are witnessing something we have not seen in a long time. And right now, we Minnesotans from all walks of life are calling upon the best and the highest moral ideals within our society. What took place, what is taking place right now is devastating on both sides. We are asking our Minnesota neighbors, members of our community, and anyone else who will hear us, including a call directly to President Biden today, who is in Israel. This is a moment for our nation to lead the world and to lead by an example of calling for peace, and most importantly in this moment, calling for a ceasefire. It is completely unheard of and completely tragic of what's going on today in Gaza. For nearly 12 days, no water, no food, no electricity, and no one can escape it. As bombs continue to be coming into Gaza, we are now hearing, as the death toll increased, nearly 1,000 children have lost their life in this conflict. This is a moment for our nation to lead. This is a moment for all of our neighbors to call. Why ceasefire? It is the most important step right now. Nothing short of a ceasefire to allow for humanitarian aid to be given to people in Gaza and as well in Israel. At this moment right now, 2.2 million people are being collectively punished in Gaza. Many innocent people are dying every single day, every minute. We have just heard of the horrific attack that involved the hospital. We have seen thousands of other people being killed. We are calling for Minnesotans who stood up for peace anytime to call for peace now. This is a moment for our nation and for our society to recognize that this conflict has gone for a very long time. It's 35 years, if not even longer. We are asking for people, and especially our nation, because we know the relationship that the United States has with Israel. Our relationship can be used in this moment to call for peace and to safeguard innocent civilians. For people, imagine yourself that you were in a conflict and you had nowhere to escape to, and most importantly, you did not have food, you did not have access to water, and you did not have access to electricity for 12 days. It is over time now for a ceasefire, and we are asking everyone to join us. We have reached out to our elected officials federally here in the state of Minnesota. We'll continue to do that. We have a protest tomorrow in front of all congressional offices in the state of Minnesota. We also have planned another protest later today at the Capitol with different organizations. There are many opportunities, but right now we are employing Minnesotans of all walks of life. This conflict has taken the lives of too many innocent people. And right now in Gaza, 2.2 million people are suffering. And we understand the emotions on both sides, but in this moment right now, the United States and our nation cannot continue to support this conflict going on without a ceasefire, without allowing humanitarian aid to those who are impacted. Thank you.
Thank you, Jelani. We have a number of speakers here today. The next speaker that we have speaking is Mariam Al-Khatib from AMP Minnesota, American Muslims for Palestine.
Hello, Assalamu alaikum, peace and blessings be upon you. My name is Mariam Al-Khatib, Mariam-Khatib, and I'm speaking on behalf of American Muslims for Palestine, AMP Minnesota. Today, I'm standing here with a heavy heart. As a Palestinian, as an American, and especially as a human. Yesterday I saw a video that I don't think I'll ever be able to erase from my mind. It was a video of a father carrying the pieces of his child's body in bags, plastic bags. And this is one of many images that we've seen over the last 12 days. In just 12 days, over 1,000 Palestinian children have been killed by Israeli airstrikes. That's on average one Palestinian child killed every 15 minutes. Israeli Defense Minister Gallant said, and I quote, "I have ordered a complete siege on the Gaza Strip. There will be no electricity, no food, no fuel. Everything is closed. We are fighting human animals and we act accordingly." And I end quote. This is the Israeli Defense Minister. Israel has made it clear what their intentions are for Gaza. They've stated it, and as he said, they've acted accordingly in the last 12 days. We've seen a level of violence and aggression against the Gaza Strip that we've never seen before. Civilians bombed in their homes, in schools, including UN schools, which are supposed to be protected, and hospitals. We've seen crimes against humanity, crimes against international law, including the use of white phosphorus. This moment will go down in history, not just for that region, but for the world. We are watching a genocide literally taking place in front of our eyes, being televised, celebrated, and justified. And it's up to us as individuals, as communities, as states, as governments, and as countries to decide where we will be, on what side in this moment of history. What did we do and what did we say to speak out against this violence and this aggression that's taking place in front of our eyes? As it stands today, the US government is not only watching this violence take place without supporting or helping, but actually enabling. President Biden was in Israel, it might still be there, earlier today, and he affirmed Israel's actions and did not call for a ceasefire to try to end the violence. As Minnesotans, we demand a ceasefire. We demand all of our elected officials on all levels. We've been mobilizing within our community. We've been flooding the phone lines to the point where offices can't pick up the line. The voice inboxes are full. People are demanding a ceasefire because that is the least that we can do to at least end the violence, to end the bloodshed of innocent civilian lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. We have Barry Kleider from Jewish Voices for Peace up next.
Thank you. Barry Kleider, B-A-R-R-Y, Kleider, K-L-E-I-D-E-R, from Jewish Voice for Peace. Jewish Voice for Peace is an international organization. We're calling for an immediate, unconditional ceasefire. We stand with the grieving families on all sides. Life is precious. All life is precious. Today, there are an extra 1 million homeless Palestinians, a direct result of Israeli bombing campaign. Israel's actions are supposed to make us Jews feel safer. This outcome looks less and less likely the longer the military operations continue. Again, Jewish Voice for Peace is calling for an immediate, unconditional ceasefire, and we're asking America and Americans to take a more nuanced approach to solving the problems in the Middle East. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Barry. We now have Sheikh Yusuf Abdullah from Ayana speaking up next.
Assalamu alaikum, peace be upon you. My name is Yusuf Abdullah, Yusuf, Y-U-S-U-F, Abdullah, A-B-D-U-L-L-E. I'm the Executive Director of Ayana, Islamic Association of North America. It's an umbrella for many Muslim organizations here in the United States. And as I would like to echo what my colleagues and colleagues here today, we're very saddened by what's going on, specifically in Gaza, and the lives lost, and the continuation of the violence in that area. It touches everyone, and it touches families, and it creates more hatred in the community. I was in Chicago when that young boy was murdered by a 7-year-old man, and he also wounded his mother. I was in Chicago at the time. So the conflict in that region, in that area, the bombing of Gaza, and the media that is actually telling lots of misinformation affects the community, affects everyone, affects all of us. Lives are lost and no different than the lives we have here. Every life is precious, it's the same. God created us all equally. So we are calling for immediate ceasefire and cessation of hostilities in that region. We're calling President Biden, the Congress, and the administration, current administration, to take actions, and those actions should be to demand full cessation of hostilities without delay and without conditions as of right now, so that we don't lose any more lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sheikh Yusuf. We now have Sharon Jaffe from World to Come, Twin Cities.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. I'm also a member of Jewish Voice for Peace, and if not now, and I'm a member of a community called Olam Haba, the World to Come. We have been gathering in public to say we need a ceasefire, to say Israel must end the occupation. I have this sign: our cries of grief are not a cry for war. I have been holding this sign since 9/11. New Yorkers made this sign. Our cries of grief are not a cry for war. Since 1982, I have been standing with Palestinians in solidarity and also with Israelis and Americans. 1982, when Israel, the IDF, the Israeli Defense Force, stepped aside and led the Christian Phalangists massacre Palestinian refugees in the Sabra and Shatila refugee camps in Beirut. I have been standing in solidarity since the first Intifada, since the second Intifada, through both Gulf Wars. And today, I know there are people organized through Jews in Israel and here in the US to say immediate ceasefire. We agree. We absolutely agree. Our cries of grief are not a cry for war. Thank you.
Can you spell your name, please?
Can you spell your name? Can you spell your
My name is Jaffe. Sharon is Sharon.
Thank you, Sharon. We now have a duo joining us now. Hassan Abdus Salam, Professor of Human Rights at the University of Minnesota, and he's joined by his research assistant, Khalid Khansu. Both Professor Hassan and Khalid were detained for 23 days by the Israeli government and by the IDF in 2022.
Hey, my name is Hassan Abdus Salam. That's Hassan Abdus Salam, ABDELSALAM.
My name is Khalid Kansu, KHALED, last name KANSOU.
I have been teaching since 2017 in the University of Minnesota. I'm a professor of human rights. I teach and conduct research in global Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, the Holocaust, international human rights law, the occupation, and Islamic studies. Khalid Kansu was my research assistant in the year of 2022. He spent the entire year in Jerusalem, and during that time conducting research on the occupation and possibilities for peace. And it ended with us being in Al-Maskubeya prison in a basement in Jerusalem for 23 days where we were treated harshly. And coming back to the United States, I was thrown into my teaching of global Islamophobia, where we brought a Holocaust survivor who recently passed away, Dora, who endured the evils of Auschwitz. And make no mistake, here is a situation where human beings are frightened, as you see on television, and people are making frightful decisions. But we shouldn't even make a claim about anyone being inhuman in this. People are all making mistakes. But the reality is that everyone, in terms of their deep feeling, the goal is to get a ceasefire. The goal is to get a ceasefire. These are the lessons we learned since the Holocaust, since the many attacks that have happened. Killing any innocent life is wrong. And right now, we have an opportunity. We can save millions of people. Millions of people. Do we want to save millions of people? It's so rare, I tell my students, to have a moment, a pivot in history, where we can say, my opinion makes a difference, where we can save lives. That is truly the goal of human rights that emerged from the time of the Holocaust, since the time where Raphael Lemkin came up with the term genocide. And so my students, Jews and Muslims who take my course on Islamophobia, where we bring people like Dora, a Holocaust survivor, and others who speak about their challenges of trying to pursue peace in Jerusalem and in Gaza and in the West Bank. All I can say is, Minnesotans, Americans, we need you. These sleepless nights, these terrifying moments where I try to glimpse at the internet with one eye closed. Let's bring this to an end. Let's demand that our president call a ceasefire to the benefit of Jews and Muslims who have been attached throughout history. We should be loving each other and caring for each other. Now is the time to speak in one voice as an example for the entire world.
I just want to add one quick thing. So I don't really care on which side you side with. I don't really care who to blame now. I don't really. Right now is not the time to blame any party. Today is the side to stand. The right side to stand is the side of the human being being valuable. The human life is being valuable, and we should save the human being. Imagine now that your son is in that hospital, or your son in that building that's gonna get hit very, very soon by a rocket. Or what are you gonna do? Are you gonna just watching the news, or getting busy with blaming this party or that party or this guy or that guy? No. Your position is gonna be that to stop this thing, the massacre, to stop killing a human being. So we are calling here, please, for all people who believe in a human being, or all people that value the life of the human being, to side with us, to side with peace, to call for an immediate ceasefire on both sides. Thank you so much.
There are no Israelis, no Palestinians. There's only the question: will we be on the side of life?
Thank you, Hassan and Khalid. And then now we have Imam Usman Rashid. Osama Rashid.
Hello, my name is Osama Rashid. I am an imam. I go to various masajid and I deliver khutbah. I want to start by saying that a quote from the Quran, where Allah, God, the creator of the universe, tells us that whoever kills a human, as if you kill humanity, and whoever saves a life, as if you save humanity. وَمَنْ أَحْيَاهَا فَكَأَنَّمَا أَحْيَا النَّاسَ جَمِيعًا. Who saves life? One life. You know, the back, I remember in Winter Storm, there was a lady that was stranded on the street, and I stopped my car, and it was very dangerous, but I wanted to help her, and I wanted to get her out of what that situation in the winter storm. We see a lot of us on TV when a whale is stranded on the beach. We see the animal rights activists, they go and they try to save that whale or that animal that is stranded, that is in dire situation. We're not talking about animals, as one of the Israeli representative indicated, that the Palestinians are animals. We're not talking about animals. We're talking about humans that are being killed on a daily basis. And if we don't take action to stop it, I live in Minnesota. I love Minnesota. I love the Minnesota people, and I know they have a very kind heart, and therefore, you know, I call upon our dear Minnesotans and the nation to call for a ceasefire, to call your senators, to call their representatives. Let's stop this atrocity. If it was our children, what would we do? You know, I remember footage on TV the other day where a child was looking for his mom under the rubbles of a building, and he was calling on her, "Mama, Mama, my mother." You know, imagine if it was our children. We have a say in this. We don't want to support killing further human lives. We don't want to support killing innocent civilians. We have a say. And you don't want to leave this life knowing that you could have said something. You could have stopped this war. You could say no to atrocities. I plead upon all our brothers and sisters throughout the world and in the US particularly to stop the atrocities. Thank you very much.
I think that concludes. I wanted to mention two things before. Two things. One, I've been working at CARE now for almost a decade. And I have come on a press conference like this. And we have come to always condemn violence. And that does not change in this situation either. We have condemned all forms of terrorism against any innocent life. Against any innocent life. We have condemned that. Right now, our nation is responding in a way that I think for most Americans should be waking up to and to realize how our nation can stop this war. We can do something about it. And I repeat the calls of everybody. We need every Minnesotan to call for a ceasefire. We need them to reach out to both our local officials here, but also our federal congressional offices, all 10 of them. We're asking for you to lend your voice for a ceasefire, to end this conflict now. It has taken the lives of innocent Israelis, innocent Palestinians. 1,000 Palestinians, 1,000 Palestinian children have died. We don't even know the many more. We also know there are about 500 plus US citizens trapped in Gaza today. Many of them even aid workers who went there to help with the hospitals, among other things. We have a moral responsibility. Just as we come together as a country to stop the aggression of what Russia was doing to Ukraine, we need this moment to stand for both Palestinians and Israelis and end this war and end the siege on Gaza. And I remind everybody, for those who still do not understand the scale of what is happening in Gaza, 2.2 million people have not had access to water, to food, to electricity, and to escape the violence. To escape the violence. Nowhere to go. They cannot leave Gaza, and Gaza is being attacked. And it's sad for me to hear nations like China, who have historical human rights violations, calling the United States and calling Israel to a ceasefire. Nations that we know we have shown and modeled a behavior of keeping the peace in the world. In this moment, we need to call onto the great ideals of this nation. And I call for the many people who love peace in this world, especially in Minnesota, all the people who marched for peace from the 60s and on. This is a moment right now you cannot be at home and just be comfortable. This is a moment to speak up the truth. This conflict can grow and create even bigger problem for our nation and for the world. Let us do what we can. A ceasefire is the basic human right now. I encourage everyone to do that. Thank you so much. If there anybody has questions, I'm happy to answer.
Have you heard from politicians at local, federal level that are supporting your calls for ceasefire? Have they said anything?
We appreciate Congresswoman Ilhan and others who have initially put out statements calling for ceasefire, and others. I know that Congresswoman Betty McCollum put out a statement yesterday calling for ceasefire. We still have not heard from Senator Tina Smith or Senator Amy Klobuchar or any of the other congressional offices, and that is why tomorrow we are organizing a peaceful protest outside of every single office, from Rochester to Wilmer to all of the offices for congressional offices, demanding that they call for a ceasefire immediately.
You alluded to President Biden's comments this morning. You did talk about the effort to get aid in. Obviously, did not mention ceasefire. Can you expand more on just what you heard today?
What we know so far is not a single drop of water and not a single drop of food has been accessed. There's food that has been lined up on the Egyptian sides for 12 days. Some of that food we don't even know what condition it could be. But we know as long as fire is coming from the sky, taking families out, and we have a family in Blaine today that lost 5. We were hearing from other families who have called us who do not know where their loved ones are in Gaza. Communication has been sporadical. In fact, some of them have even lost complete communication. So a ceasefire will allow a humanitarian aid to go in to make sure that everyone can be treated, because many people are afraid to even leave the buildings that are so called to be safe, including the hospital that was bombed, that obviously we're concerned about. Nearly 1,000 or 800 people have been killed in one strike.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry about the heat. We do have some water back there. Please help yourself. So tomorrow.